What's up? What's up? What's up? My name is Jessie of Converge Media, and I am with my big bro, Mr. Mike Davis of the South Seattle Emerald. How you doing, Mike?
I'm doing good, Julie. I'm doing real good tonight.
Good. Well, I want to welcome everybody to our show, our weekly show that we're hosting, the Clapback Culture. And so a little bit about what you guys can expect from this show. Originally, we were calling it the post-elections analysis, and it's really grown to be kind of a different birth child. And so we're here to talk about news, talk about politics, and really just talk about the state of the culture and Black people and what issues are really pertaining to the state of the culture. Mike, what do you think?
I think you hit it right on the head. I think it started off as just political analysis, kind of following the elections. And over time, we've kind of evolved into what we have here. And I'm real interested to jump in today. We have a broad range of topics now, so it's not just election anymore. And we got a lot to talk about.
Exactly. We got to give the people some current events. They don't want to just hear about all the schmoozing. I mean, they can turn on the news and watch all of that. So, you know what, Converge, it's all about doing a little remix and giving people a little bit more than what they're used to. So hopefully we're gonna add a little flavor, a little spice. It's gonna be like Shade Room mixed with like CNN, mixed with Julia Hype. You know what I mean?
No, I like that a lot. I like that a lot. So you want to run through the topics and let the people know what we're going to talk about tonight?
Yeah. So tonight we have a pretty good show. We're going to talk about President-elect Joe Biden's leaked audio, where he kind of got caught up saying a couple things about defunding the police. So I really want to dive deep in that. I want to hear your thoughts. We're going to talk about Joe Biden's cabinet picks and some of the people that are waiting for confirmation and really just the drama and chaos, certainly around that. And then we're going to talk about the state of Black people and COVID-19 and really this fear and this kind of this paranoia of getting the coronavirus vaccine. And so I want to talk a little bit about that and thoughts from Dr. Fauci. We have comments from Jamel Hill, and she took a couple shots at our boy Nate Robinson, didn't she? Our hometown hero. So we're gonna jump into that, and then lastly, let's talk about Rashida Jones, who is, about to take the position as president at MSNBC.
Oh, it's gonna be fun.
And it's gonna be fun. So first thing is first, I want to thank everyone again for watching. Please use the chat feature. We like to have more commentary. So we like to think about you guys as a part of our show too. So we're going to be able to pull up your comments and talk about your comments as well. We're two opinionated people. So if you feel like you need to shoot your shot, I know, Mike, you got a couple little jabs at you last week, brother. They didn't like all that Barack Obama hate.
Hey, it's all good. Bring it.
Or not.
Anybody out there, you got anything to say, please drop it in the chat. We love the back and forth. It makes it even more fun for us.
Listen, and I think that viewer is actually watching. So I hope I sent him the show link. So I hope he is there, and I hope he pulls up in the comments.
I do too.
All right, first things first. So Nikki, if you can pull up our clip of Joe Biden, please. Nikki is our Charlie in the sky. She's going to go ahead and pull up that clip. President Joe Biden, President-elect Joe Biden, sir, was having a conversation with some of the Black leaders and was really talking about the GOP kind of, I don't know, like really, what did he say? Kicking their ass or beating the hell out of them. Beating
all across the country.
Right, on this defunding the police. And we talked a little bit about defunding the police last week, and the conversation got a little bit spicy. So hopefully we can get that clip up here in a second. I want to hear Joe Biden's leaked audio. I want to get your feedback, Mike, and let me know what you think about it.
Well, definitely. I think first and foremost, I thought it was really interesting that he was really, really on the money with everything that we just heard about Obama from our discussion last week, and how it seems like when they look at defunding the police, they want to get stuck on the slogan instead of looking at what community is actually asking for. But what really jumped out at me from the transcript, because I did not hear the actual leak, I would really love to hear the audio. But from what I read, Joe Biden's stance was that he wants people to stop talking about defund the police until the Georgia Senate runoffs are complete, because he thinks that can affect the results.
Well, hold your comments, Mike. Let's let our viewers catch up just in case they haven't heard the audio. Nikki, can you play that clip for us?
So breaking just in the last hour, newly leaked audio posted by The Intercept. President-elect Joe Biden saying that Republicans used the defund police movement to, quote, beat the living hell out of Democrats. Peter Ducey picks up the reporting live in Wilmington, Delaware. Peter.
And it was a listening session on Tuesday, Bill, that this audio has now leaked out from, but the listening that Joe Biden was doing also came with a warning from Joe Biden for these prominent civil rights leaders that Republicans beat the hell out of Democrats at the ballot box when the talk turns to defunding the police.
They've already labeled us as being defund the police. Anything we put forward in terms of the organizational structure to change policing, which I promise you will occur, promise you. Just think to yourself and give me advice whether we should do that before January 5th, because that's how they beat the living hell out of us across the country, saying that we're talking about defunding the police. We're not. We're talking about holding them accountable.
And January 5th is the day of the Georgia runoff, so Biden is obviously concerned about messaging Republicans talking about Democrats defunding the police and the impact that could have on their chances there. I reached out to the transition team about this leaked audio and what they make of it. An official tells me this: President-elect Biden is the same person behind closed doors that he is in public, honest, direct, and realistic about the challenges facing our nation and the day he is sworn in. As he made clear throughout the campaign, he believes in supporting bold and urgent reform to our criminal justice system while continuing to support law enforcement's mission to keep our communities safe. The president-elect is here in Wilmington today. No public events on the schedule until tomorrow afternoon, when he's going to announce some new White House staffers, including Susan Rice. Bill?
Thank you, Pete.
Well. Mike Davis, tell me.
Yes.
What's the
first and foremost, who's we? See, Julie, I can't even let you get it out because seeing that clip, it's just jumping out of me. We are not talking about defunding the police. We are talking about holding them accountable. Who's we? Because we are asking you to take funds from the police and invest them in what? Schools, social services, things that will actually keep our streets safe instead of the people that you call after something has already happened. And on the topic of police accountability, was there not just a black man that was shot while trying to walk into his house with a Subway sandwich that somehow looked like a gun? Like, stop it with the nonsense. This is madness. You're not talking about accountability or holding anybody accountable. You're talking about quieting the same people that just voted you in office. If it wasn't for us, you wouldn't be the president-elect. So how about instead of, you're not even in the White House yet. How is it that you're already pushing black issues to the back burner? This is crazy. This is crazy. This is the reason why it took me 30 years to vote for the first time.
Well, Mike, welcome to the show. You didn't need any time to warm up, brother. It took you 9 minutes, sir, to warm up and bring that heat. So I guess that's you clapping back. This is why we call it the clap back culture, y'all, because we're not holding back. I want to bring up this idea of restructuring. Now, me personally, I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm not necessary. I'm definitely 100% about holding police accountable for their actions, but I don't think it's the police's responsibility to somehow implement, mental health resources while they're out on the ground. We need real mental health professionals. And so I think what Joe Biden is getting to, and I don't want to put words in his mouth and I don't want to mince my words, but really what he's kind of talking about is this idea of restructuring and restructuring, how local budgets are fueling their police departments. And this is all on a local level. This is not a lot of federal dollars going into this. And so we really have to look at this from a state by state kind of case. And so restructuring that budget is highly important. We don't want to necessarily defund, but when we talk about these kind of terms and for a movement, defund sounds better than restructuring, restructuring the police instead of defund the police. So it's a little bit catchy, and I ultimately think it does mean the same thing. And we do need to get a lot of thinkers at the table, and we need to have these, true roundtable conversations. And what I'm really looking forward to is a lot of these states and, districts like myself here in DC is putting together kind of a residential kind of oversight committee. We need to have more oversight and more compliance in terms of holding police accountable and putting the justice back into criminal justice. So we'll see. I think I don't know. I don't like the way that he said it, but I think that Joe Biden, and I'm looking at your face, Mike. I think that Joe Biden I'm gonna just fall back on this a little bit this time. I'm not gonna hold him to the fire, because a lot of people, particularly in law enforcement, because it's not like we need to abolish law enforcement. There's good police, and there's definitely some terrible ones. And so we do need to do some restructuring. And it is what it is.
I don't like the either or. I think that's what I get hung up on when I listen to any moderate Democrat speak. It's like they talk like we have to have reform or we have to have defund. Well, here in Seattle, the police take over $400 million of our city's budget. I don't think that, do they really need 400 million? How about we give some of that money to schools? How about we give some of that money to healthcare? How about we give some of that money to social services? There's so many ways that we can address crime before people become criminals. So if you take that money from police, we're not saying that we don't need police. Everybody has to call 911 at some point, and we need somebody to show up. But does that person need to be an armed officer? Oftentimes, that person does not need to be an armed officer. There are many other people that can respond to these calls better than the police can. So why are we giving them $400 million worth of our budget? It just doesn't make any sense. So let's redirect those funds. I don't care what you call it. Let's do it. But when Joe Biden gets up there and he starts backpedaling like that, he's going to be the leader of our nation. He's the one that everyone is going to follow. We need leadership that can be top down. And I know the people that hear me criticize Obama, somebody's in here, but that is a thing that Obama could have done. He at least could have voiced it. Joe Biden could at least voice it. We could at least say the police are out of control. We could at least say that we need more social services. We need more money in education. But they refuse to say these things because they don't really want reform. They really just want us to be quiet and vote for Democrats like we have been since the 60s and just continue to get our votes and not give us any results for our communities.
I want to pull one of the highlights. Dominique Moore, thanks for tuning in, Damo. She says defund definitely means reallocations of funds and resources. Now, I live in a violent city. And so last night at 11 o'clock, there was rapid gunfire of over 40 shots, just less than a mile away from the house. And you think about when you're in a tough situation, you do want to be able to call 911 and you do want to be able to have boots on the ground. However, when you think about community policing, and I think that's more so what you're talking about, is this idea of community policing. We should have a little bit more control of how we intend to police ourselves. I hate this idea, and I hate to even throw it out here, but I want to put it out here on the floor. This idea of people saying, there's so much black on black crime. If we stop killing ourselves, then the police will stop killing us. That's not the same thing. And that's a lot of rhetoric that I think a lot of people will try to use to argue against defunding the police. I'm in agreement that we don't need to defund the police, but we do need to restructure where those dollars go to. And that may be taking a lot of money out and then infusing it into different things like mental health services. It might mean infusing it into more employment services. Because one thing that we do know is that people do not commit crimes when they're busy working. A man with work is not thinking about who he's going to rob, steal, or shoot. Okay. And so we really need to think about how all of these how all of these things kind of coexist with each other and really get to the root of the issue. Because right now we're just kind of barely touching at the surface. And so I'm all about this, criminal justice reform. We really need to continue to have people actively involved. I'm in agreement that kind of tearing down the term defund the police really will make a lot of people feel ostracized and make it seem as if President-elect Joe Biden is not really holding on to the people that did elect him and vote him into office. So there definitely needs to be some defunding. We do need to pull some dollars out of there and reallocate them somewhere else. And so I'm looking forward to an oversight committee that can kind of be in charge of that. So any final thoughts on that, Mike?
My final thoughts would be, I think that I agree with everything that you said. I think that I voice it in a different way, but I do think that I'm on par with you. I just think that what kind of hits me with the defund argument is that I feel like the Democrats are allowing the Republicans to sway the way that they act and approach policies to a point that makes me feel that the slogan of the Black community is not as important as the feelings of the white community. And if you really want to address injustice and you really want to address police reform, you're not really going to be able to do it without making white people feel uncomfortable. So Joe Biden can't be so afraid to offend white America with slogans. He needs to actually go out and do what the people are asking to be done.
People like you, Mike.
Absolutely.
No, I'm teasing. Okay, I think we'll table those thoughts because I'm most certainly sure we're going to end up coming back to it.
We will.
This idea of defunding police is it's active all around the country, and so I'm excited to really see where we go because something does need to happen, and a change is in the air. So moving on, let's go ahead. Our next topic is to discuss Joe Biden's cabinet picks, and so let's clap back a little bit about what's going on there. I wish we had have shared this kind of lineup with Nikki. I'm sorry, Nikki, we didn't. There was a graphic. Oh, here we go. So Biden has to complete cabinet picks by Christmas. I was watching a news clip from Fox News, and I know you guys hate when I watch Fox News, but I watch it because it's just utterly ridiculous. And one of the commentators said, if Joe Biden is confirmed, he was like, he's just rushing to get all these cabinet picks and he hasn't even been confirmed. And I'm like, rushing? I mean, he's been elected since, I guess it makes a month almost today, 31 days from today. Or, well, he was officially confirmed on the 7th, the 9th, I don't know, but it's been 30 plus days at this point. And so I don't think we're rushing to get any cabinet picks, but he does have some interesting picks. I've had a few conversations with individuals who are like, oh, there needs to be more Black leadership. And then there's some people who are like, I think he has a pretty diversified cabinet. Mike, what are your thoughts there?
I do think that his cabinet is diversified. I mean, if we had the picture to put up, I think you would see a lot of different faces that represent a lot of different cultures. I think that where a lot of people are getting hung up is that there were a lot of people who were getting pushed towards Biden that he kind of pulled away from. I think a big one is Tom Vilsack, who is going to run the USDA. And I think that was a big one because in Georgia, there's a lot of Black farmers. I know that, on the West Coast, Black farming isn't necessarily a thing in the same way as it is down South, but, they were pushing for Marcia Fudge. And they wanted somebody that had a deeper connection to civil rights because whoever runs the USDA, they're also in charge of a lot of food funding programs for low income people. And that includes the food that you see in schools. So they wanted someone with a civil rights background that could actually step in and give us some reform. And instead of doing that, Joe Biden actually went the other way. And on this call with some of these civil rights leaders, that's another thing that came up, where, it's like, Georgia swung heavily in your favor. And now, again, you're already turning your back on these very same people. So what's that going to look like? And, I know that Joe Biden is in a tough position. I know that, these picks have to be voted in. So it's not like he just points a finger and gets it done. But I don't want to be worried, but he really has to start listening to the Black people as well.
I mean, there are some good picks. Representative Marsha Fudge, like you mentioned, and to lead the development of housing and urban development. She's cool, man. She's really, really, really cool. She's active in the Congressional Black Caucus. She's a congresswoman in the 11th District of Ohio, and she's done really, really a lot. And she's been, the first Black woman to do a lot of things. And so, and shout out to some of my friends who are members of Delta Sigma Theta. She is also a past national president of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. So I'm sure those girls over there are really excited to have someone kind of in a position of leadership. So hopefully, that selection has not been formally announced or kind of submitted, but Representative Fudge, she did tell NBC News that she would gladly accept the post. So I'm excited to see what she would do in that position as well. There's a couple other people. Let's see. Secretary of Defense General Lloyd Austin. He's getting a lot of pushback, man. I don't know. He would make history, right? He'd be the first Black person to lead the Pentagon if confirmed by the Senate. And there's really a lot of pushback in terms of getting him confirmed. And so I'm interested to see how this will work. I know that Joe Biden has worked closely with him in the past when he was vice president. So I think that, President-elect Joe Biden is really picking people, not just off of their resumes, but people that he's worked with in the past. And so we have to remember, Joe Biden's been, in politics for the last 40 years. So, I mean, you talk about 850 million years. He's a politician, okay? And he knows the people who are meant to kind of do these jobs. And so I'm, I feel pretty confident in his choices. I also think that, someone like Kamala Harris, who is just kind of coming out of her Senate seat, they know who's who and they know who's actually doing the work and who will kind of blend well and work well in terms of them trying to get some things done. So I'm excited about that. We have Xavier Becerra. He would be the first Latino to lead the Department of Health and Human Services if confirmed by the Senate. That's pretty cool. He served 12 terms in Congress as a member of the U.S. House of Representatives. He's the chair of the Congressional Hispanic Caucus, and shout out to our brown people too. I mean, we're not. I think obviously we're Black people and we push the Black agenda, but I want to give a shout out to our Latino community as well. There's a lot of firsts here, as well. There's a lot of firsts of just women in general. So I'm pretty. He has a lot of more nominations to make. We'll see what happens. I mean, right now, the GOP hasn't even conceded. They're not even accepting this election. I mean, they're ready to take this thing to the Supreme Court, blah, blah, blah. I mean, it's just like, if we get to January and Donald Trump becomes president or they overturn these elections, I mean, just throw the entire 2021 away. And I'm just going to go to bed. I'm going to just go to bed for the rest of the year. The rest of the 4 years. I can't.
You're right. I think you're right about a lot that you said. And I think that for me, the reason why I'm a little reluctant to do any heavy pushback of Joe Biden's selections is because he was vice president. And it does seem that he's picking a lot of people who were close to the presidency when he was in office. And I think that one thing that we really, really have to remember is look at the country that Trump is handing Joe Biden. I don't really think that Biden is in a position where he can really go out and pick a bunch of people who don't have a lot of experience, because there's going to be so much work for him to do, because Trump really did a number on our country. And even to this day, Trump is doing his best to sabotage everything on his way out. So it's not even really going to be as simple as Joe Biden just coming in, sitting down and getting us through this pandemic. No, he's going to have so much things that he has to do. There's so many things, even in defense. I mean, when you look at what's happening with the Pentagon and the people that are being fired, Joe Biden is really going to have to go fix a bunch of things before he even gets to work. So I do understand the reason why he will want people who are experienced, who can hit the ground running, so that we can really get back to getting our country running smoothly.
Absolutely. And you know what, Mike? It doesn't even matter who's president, right? Because anytime, you have a transition of power, the other side always feels a little hesitant and pulls back, right? And so there's always this back and forth. There's always this jab this kind of jab cross thing. And so we're never going to see, I'm not going to say, we have not seen in our lifetime a transition of leadership that has just been so eloquent, and everyone is just kind of like, let's just make it happen. And so there's going to be some pushback. I think we just need to sit down, put our seatbelts on, grab some popcorn, get a snack, and just kind of wait for this to go through. J Tree in the comments, we see you, brother. You trolling us. We love it. I mean, ciao. Listen, we see you, brother. Give us. We're gonna give you some time. We're gonna move on to the next. We're gonna move on to the next one. Let's talk about Black people and the coronavirus and how they're feeling about getting this vaccine. President elect Joe Biden said that within his first 100 days that he wanted to roll out the vaccine. So why won't Black folks trust us on COVID-19? These doctors and nurses have answers. So let's talk about that a little bit. Mike, what are your thoughts? Are you going to get the vaccine? It's supposed to be.
You just put me right on the spot. Will I get the vaccine? I don't know. We didn't play the video. You sent me a video. That video that you sent me of Dr. Fauci speaking with the Black scientists, that was big. And I think that that's something that hopefully we can share and really put out there, because people need to see that. One thing that I find interesting.
Let me tee up that comment so people can kind of understand what we're talking about. So Dr. Fauci, and love him. I love his charisma and kind of his attitude. He was so Willy Wonka in the Chocolate Factory when he said it, because he was like, all my brothers and sisters, if they feel like they shouldn't take the vaccine, they should know a Black woman scientist was at the forefront. And we absolutely should, right? We absolutely should. Her name is Kizimet. Hold on, I'm going to find her name really quick. But he called her Kizzy. So Miss Kizzy is one of the scientists that was at the forefront, who is a Black scientist at the forefront of coming up with a vaccine for the COVID-19 virus. And, does that make you feel a little bit more comfortable to get the vaccine knowing that she's Black? Because that's really what he was getting to.
To be honest, it pissed me off that I hadn't heard of that before. We're in a global pandemic. It's a race to be the first to get the vaccine. And we had a Black woman who was the scientist behind the vaccine, and nobody went public with this. Like, why doesn't everybody know? It's hard for me to have this conversation. The Tuskegee Experiments happened. That's real. That was 40 years of our government giving Black men syphilis and just sending them out into the community. We know that happened. In more recent times, how many stories have we heard of Black women who go to the hospital, complain about this pain or that pain, and the doctors assume that Black people have a higher tolerance for pain, and we literally lose lives? Like, Black people just don't have the best history with the government. We don't have the best history with medical professionals. So if you are a Black person and you don't trust the vaccine, I totally understand it. I think that hearing Dr. Fauci talk was interesting, though, because it's like, this isn't an American thing. This is a global pandemic. It's not like this is something that we need here. This is something that they need in the whole entire world. And if you really look at it on a global scale, I do think that it makes it more acceptable to actually believe that it will be safe to take. I also think it's interesting having this conversation with Black folks when I got so many Black homies that are just kicking it right now as if there is no pandemic. And these guys seem to be more scared of the vaccine than they are of the disease. And that to me just blows my mind. It's like, so it's like,
I can't argue with that. I mean, I was talking to a girlfriend of mine, and she told me, that people in Atlanta, and I hate to talk about my Atlanteans, but the clubs are open. People are kicking it. Nobody got no mask on. They don't care. It's like Corona. She said she was on the phone with her good girlfriend, and she said, girl, there ain't no coronavirus here. And she was jokingly saying that because people just don't take it seriously. And so when we talk about, but I want to go back to your point. So why Blacks don't trust the vaccine? And I think, right, there's this historical scar, that has happened, that has been passed down from generation to generation. And so when we do talk about the Tuskegee syphilis study, that was 40 years of experimental treatments gone wrong. That wasn't just some type of routine situation that kind of happened over a year, a couple months. That was 40 years. And so I think people really are scarred and plagued by that. And, it's the everyday realities is just people feel that these institutional structures and this impact, this racial impact, it does interfere with the medical system. And, you think about Black people, there really isn't a lot of Black doctors. I'm very fortunate that my uncle, Dr. Elton Gaddy, he went to Meharry Medical School. I've experienced a Black doctor in my life, and I've had, Black doctors and Black, nurse practitioners that I, go to, but it does change the experience. And so I think if you've never had a Black doctor, you kind of are coming in with these, these scars, these wounds, these traumas, and these traumas that we've taken on from, our mothers and our fathers and everybody else. I've talked to a couple of people and I said, why won't you get the vaccine? And they always mention the Tuskegee experiment. And I think, historically, Black people have been the test dummies. They have been the guinea pigs. I do want to share one thing with you. And Nikki, you can bring Mike back on the screen because I want to see his face. There is a 3-scenario rollout plan that I found online from an epidemiologist, Dr. Flawan Kofer, and he is the senior director of policy at the statewide nonprofit Public Health Advocates. And he describes 3 hot takes. And I thought these takes were I don't want to say they're funny, but they're definitely true. And so I'm going to read the 3 takes and let me see what you think about them, Mike. Okay, so the first option is, he's saying, okay, there's 3 hot takes that add up to a no-win scenario. Number 1, the first option for countries is to roll out the vaccine to everyone at the same time, ignoring the fact that Black, Latino, and Indigenous populations are getting COVID-19 at higher rates and are dying of it at younger ages than the rest of the population. That will lead to accusations that there's no equity because you're just giving it to everybody all willy-nilly at the same time, right? Okay, scenario number 2. The second option is to directly target Black people and roll it out in the neighborhoods and and that have logged the most cases. But then, then you're going to get people saying, oh, heck no, you're just trying to experiment on me like you did with Tuskegee. Okay, scenario number 3. You roll it out and specifically roll it out to white people living in neighborhoods that haven't been hit that hard by COVID-19. But then what are Black people going to say? Oh, so you're just saving yourselves, and then you leave us to fend for ourselves. So, what's your take on these 3 takes? Because realistically, these are the conversations we are having. Whether it's just with your good girlfriends, your homeboys, if you're in the barbershop, if you're at work with some of your Black colleagues. I mean, it might not be all together as one, but we've heard all 3 of these scenarios.
You're right. And I remember like the Gates Foundation, Bill and Melinda coming out and trying to say that they wanted Black folks to get the vaccine first. Hell no, you're not giving us the vaccine first. We're not going to be your guinea pigs. I would never trust it. If they really came out and said that, that would solidify I probably would never take the vaccine. I understand the numbers. I understand that it hits us disproportionately, but unfortunately, I think that's the country. I mean, Black women die in childbirth disproportionately. We still have to have babies. Like we still have to continue. I would lean towards giving it to essential workers first. Give it to the doctors, give it to the nurses, let them have it first. I would even go for like if you gave it to the service industry first. We want to get restaurants open. We want grocery stores to stay open. Let them have it first. Do something like that makes sense, but don't make it racial. Because if you make it racial, no matter which way you go, people aren't going to be able to trust it.
Well, I agree. I think there's a huge mistrust in the Black community, the Black and brown community, but specifically the Black community. And that mistrust has been well earned. And I think rather than kind of force feeding it to the Black community and having this big direct rollout plan, we really need to allow Black people to kind of take their time to recognize that this is something that they want to do. And I think healthcare systems need to meet us where we are. There's a huge disparity in healthcare and access to healthcare. And, we see these high numbers of death amongst the African American community because of COVID-19, because of these pre-existing conditions. And so we are a community of diabetes and high blood pressure and obesity and things like that. And so because of our lack of health care, for whatever the reason is, whether we can't get it from our job or we're comfortable going, and and because of our mistrust and our traumas and our wounds that we carry, because a lot of times, you can talk to people and they say, I ain't going to the doctor. You know how much it costs to go to the doctor? I ain't going to the doctor. I'm gonna have my herbs. I'm gonna drink my ginger root. I'm not doing that. My grandmother told me woo, 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 woo. And so I think rather than kind of directly hitting that, what we need to do is just let people show up when they want to. And so there's going to be people that are ready to get it today. And then there's going to be people that are ready to get it next year or 2 years down the line. And I'm okay with that. Right. And I think that the healthcare systems need to let people know, listen, you don't want to get it right now? No problem. You want to get it in a year? Cool. Let's just meet you where you are so that we can kind of earn your trust in order to get that. And, I think that Black nurses and doctors have a really critical role to play. And I think that they need to kind of step out and help the community earn our trust. Me personally, I talked to my mom. My mom is like, oh, I'm on the first thing smoking to get that vaccine. And I'm just like, I don't know, man. I don't know if I need it. I already had the COVID-19 virus. So do I need the vaccine? Probably not. But I'm also somebody who doesn't get the flu shot because I'm not really a person that gets sick. So I'm like, if I don't need it in my body, if it's not natural to my body, then I don't know if I necessarily need it. But I'm not necessarily paranoid that I'm going to have some kind of, adverse effects to it. But we'll see. The true guinea pigs are going to be our healthcare workers because they are getting it first. So I think we'll sit back and have a snack on that too.
I agree. I agree with you. And I don't get flu shots either, to be honest. And for me to get the COVID shot, honestly, it would be nice to let a couple years go by so we can see what the long-term side effects are. I think Dr. Fauci makes a good point in the effectiveness that we see right now, but there's no way to know the long-term possible side effects of the vaccine until time passes by. Like we just won't know. But I'm all for doctors and nurses having it first. I feel like our whole economy is really built on the back of the service industry. And if we really want to be able to get those particular workers back to work to boost the economy, I think that they should be somewhere near first in line. We talk a lot about the schools and how we can get elementary schools reopened. I think letting elementary school teachers get the vaccine first might also be a good idea. I think there's a lot of creative ways that we can think about this rollout that would encourage people to take it without actually having to go race and saying this race versus that race being first.
Absolutely. And I don't think we should dictate who gets the vaccine based on race. I think, we should give it to people who are most vulnerable. We should.
Absolutely.
And because here's the thing, it's not like everyone's going to be able to get it at the same time. We need to be able to give it to the people who are, the most vulnerable, the people who are on the front lines, our healthcare workers who are making sure that people stay alive, and who have been fighting this war with COVID-19 for the last couple of months, almost a year. And so, everyone else kind of coming after that, I really agree with some people in the comments that, it needs to be, by volunteer only. Let's take a peek at some of the stuff in here. Antibodies, Lola Peters.
Yo, Jay Tree, man, I didn't say give it to the kids. I said give it to the teachers. You got to listen, man. You got to listen.
Lola Peters says antibodies don't appear to last, so having had it isn't a guarantee you won't get it again. In fact, someone a couple of weeks ago became the first to die from getting it twice. Lola, I actually know someone who did get it more than once. And so, I'm not ignorant to the fact that my antibodies don't last, but I don't know if I'm necessarily a person who can re-spread it again. I guess if you could get it again, you could spread it again, but
well, I would say this.
First and
foremost, stop going to the club. if you're watching this right now, you're still
not going to the
out
club.
the club. And if you are going to the club, you need to be volunteering to be first in line. Because I think part of the reason why I think for myself, I may not go get it is because I do have the privilege of being able to work from home. I don't really leave my house a lot. So like my grocery shopping, I usually order, they bring it to the car. If I do takeout, a lot of that is coming to the car. So like I don't have to have all of those interactions. But if you are someone that's having those interactions, you might want to reconsider. If you are someone that's still kicking it like you've been kicking it, like ain't nothing going on, then you might want to reconsider.
Listen, and I think a lot of people need to take it more seriously. If more people took it seriously, I think we could not get over it, but we could get through it a lot more smoothly. And taking precautions. Number one, can y'all stop wearing your mask underneath your nose?
It makes no sense.
It makes no sense at all. Coronavirus, and it's not protecting me. Pull your mask over your nose and mouth, please. It drives me crazy when I see people with their mask hanging out underneath their nose. Like, Becky, it's simple. Wear a mask and wash your hands. It really is. It's respect. Keep the hand sanitizer in your car, sis. I mean, when you get out, you get back in, pump. That's it. You know, I have a whole video on how to properly take off your mask. I'm gonna share it with y'all on my YouTube channel. Dora Vega, distance, wear a mask, wash your hands. Hopefully the government will help with the economic support for unemployed. Hey man,
great point.
A lot of people are out of work because of this. One, because some people just don't want to go to work because they're scared and they might have a pre-existing condition. They can't put themselves on the front lines. Or somebody who, I know in Baltimore, they shut down all the restaurants. So you can't eat indoor or outdoor. It's only takeaway. So imagine if you are working in the hospitality industry or you're a restaurateur or something like that, you are highly affected. And a lot of those positions are Black and Latino people and are indigenous people. And so we got to think about, how do we support people who really just need to feed their family? And how do we make COVID-19 important to somebody who can't feed their kids, right? And so we do need to have some subsidies and we need to have some emergency funding. It's crucial.
It's so true. And I know that we're not necessarily having this conversation right now, but I mean, a conversation for another day would be, how the government is making these moves to shut down these small businesses when those are people's livelihoods. If you're going to shut down somebody's business, you need to support them. And I know there's a lot of debate and we could probably launch into the whole rabbit hole there, but it's hard. It's hard to see the mom and pop shops having to close down, yet everybody can still go to Walmart as much as they want. Like that's just not a good messaging to the people.
Well, we're gonna table this discussion because we know that COVID-19 is not going anywhere fast. They're talking about us wearing masks until possibly 2022. And so I'm ready to just strap in. Like I said, sit back and have a snack. Use that Instacart if you can. If you have the means to do things to not be out in public and keep yourself kind of at low risk, do so. Because I know so many people who have tested positive. And it's not necessarily about somebody who's healthy like me who can kind of get over it in a couple weeks, but really about somebody else getting it and infecting grandma who did pass away. So, you guys know that I have been disproportionately affected and impacted by COVID-19. I did lose my grandmother. I lost both of my grandmothers within a week from each other during the pandemic. So it's not a game to me. And, having gone through it myself, it's something really serious. So wear your mask. We're going to go ahead and take a break real quick and we'll come right back. And when we come back, let's talk about Jamel Hill's comments about Nate Robinson. I cannot wait to hear your commentary for that. So hang in there, grab a snack. We'll be right here.
Hey, what's up, everybody? It's your man, the Big O. Want to take a moment here, first of all, to say thank you for your support of Converge Media. We definitely wouldn't be here without you. Secondly, I want to thank everybody who is a supporter of Converge Media on Patreon. We definitely appreciate your support. And for those of you might not know, I'll let you know, we operate 100% off of donations. Some donations big, most donations small, but we love all donations all the same. If you haven't done so yet, I want to encourage you to go on our website, to whereweconverge.com/donate and subscribe. You click on the Patreon link and you can subscribe for as little as $5 a month. There's higher tiers beyond that as well. And just know that your subscription literally keeps us on the air. Once again, want to thank you for all your support.
Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. I am Jules Jessie with the Clapback Culture, alongside with my co-pilot, Mike Davis from the South Seattle Emerald. Hey, Mike.
Hey.
So, you guys been tuning in. I know, we're getting close to the end of the show, but we could not end this show without talking about this comment. So, first and foremost, actually, Mike, I'm gonna let you build this up for our audience to kind of let them know what we're about to watch. I don't know if we have we don't have the clip, but we do have a pull up. But if you can just paint the scene, and then Nikki will throw it up of what people are going to be watching, and then we'll have a discussion about it. So
real fast, Julia. So we don't have the soundbite.
No, we don't have the soundbite. So just let people know what happened, and then we'll discuss it.
All right. So Nate Robinson, a Seattle legend. He's probably one of the best all-around athletes to ever come out of Seattle, multiple sport athletes. He challenged YouTube sensation Jake Paul to a boxing match. And Jake Paul, for those of you who didn't know, I myself did not know. I'm not into the YouTube like that. But apparently he has been training to be a boxer for like the last 3 years. So he had been boxing and doing some fights. And if you're from Seattle, you already know. We see all the clapback on the internet, but ain't nobody about to run up to Nate and say none of that in his face. I mean, Nate grew up fighting, and he will have that work for you. But I think that, it's funny. I went to college in LA during the time when Kobe was hurt and the Lakers were trash. And like the random scrubs off the Lakers bench would like go to 24-hour fitness, and they would run the court for hours and hours at a time, because even the scrubs in the NBA will come to the 24-hour fitness and give regular dudes the business. I kind of think that this is what Nate got himself into. He's a street fighter. He grew up fighting. But boxing is not a fight, man. Boxing is a sport. So when he got into the ring with somebody that had been training for years as a boxer, it didn't go his way. Now, in the clip that we don't have, Jemele Hill, who worked for ESPN alongside Carrie Champion, they do a show on Vice. They had Jake Paul on their show, and they asked him like 3 or 4 times whether him knocking Nate Robinson out was racist. And it got cringy and it got uncomfortable, and it led to a lot of people clapping at Jemele Hill. And that rubbed me the wrong way because of who Jemele is and what she's done. So for those of you who don't know, ESPN is like the pinnacle of sports media in our country. If you are a sports broadcaster and you make it to work at ESPN, you made it. As a matter of fact, cats that leave ESPN go to the other networks like your FS1, Fox Sports. Skip Bayless is a popular one. He was on with Stephen A. Smith, lost his contract, and ended up at FS1. Jemele Hill made it to this pinnacle, and she lost her job over tweeting that Trump was a white supremacist. So basically, she lost her job at ESPN standing up for the culture. And I say that because there's a lot of people clapping at her right now with the coonery, buffoonery talk for her conversation. And I don't think that that's a fair label to give to Jemele, because how many people out here have let stuff slide to keep their job, and they didn't work at no ESPN. I mean, that was a major step that she took for the people. I think that her comments were off base. I don't think that they should have did that. I think that if you had 2 black women in that room having that conversation, it might have been funny. But you don't have that type of conversation in front of a mixed crowd, man. They had company. You can't bring the white guy on and then try to laugh at racism like that. It was a bad look, but I don't think that should reflect on her as a person.
Well, I think that the internet took this and ran with it the wrong way, right? So we know that people will take a cute little soundbite, a little small clip, and they don't show the full context of the conversation. If you had watched and I'm not saying you, but to our viewers, make sure you watch the full interview. There's a full like 2-minute clip, and really, Jamel is being sarcastic when she's talking to Jake Paul, because a lot of people were teasing him about it being racist that he knocked Nate Robinson out. And so she was kind of they were trolling the trolls by saying that. And unfortunately, it backfired because people took that and ran with it. But you're right. I mean, Jamel, she is all the way for the culture, 100%. She has stuck her neck out there a number of times. I think sis got a little bit too comfortable and didn't really think about what could happen in terms of how people would lay that out. And to be honest, I mean, it wasn't really that funny, but I understood what she was trying to do within the context of it. But horrible soundbite, just absolutely horrible. But I mean, that's what happens when you get on here and you run your mouth. I mean, people could go back and look at some of my clips and just take 30 seconds and be like, Jules don't know a dang thing. So listen, Jamel, we're here for you, sis. As another political, as another pundit, as another woman in journalism, I'm with you. You'll be fine. The internet will leave you alone in the next 48 hours if they haven't already dropped the story. We're not even gonna bring it up again. But I do want to bring up one more point about the Nate Robinson fight since we're on it. And it does deal with the state of the culture. There were, number one, shout out to Nate Robinson, one hell of an athlete, hell of a guy, really, 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 really talented. And, you know, I commend him for jumping out there and putting himself out there. I heard he got, like 600,000 to do that fight, or walked away with 600,000. Listen, I'll be knocked out 600,000 all day long. But I do want to ask you a question. There were trolls on the internet. Well, maybe we don't call them trolls, but there are people on the internet and a lot of Black Twitter conversation that were really teasing, Nate Robinson. And, you know, one thing about us in Seattle is like, you know, if you went to Franklin, I went to Franklin High School, you guys, and if you got beat up and knocked out, people gonna drag you. I mean, that's just the way it is. You are going to get joked on. And so there's a whole bunch of memes that rolled out. But Black Twitter, there was some back and forth on whether or not we should be tearing down our Black leaders. Should other leaders be able to comment, or should they have to kind of table their conversations so that people can't see? Because you did bring it up that you can't have these conversations in mixed crowds. So what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, I would say first and foremost, I think right before all of this stuff with Nate Robb happened, there was a thing on Black Twitter where people were putting the meme up. What's something that's not racist that looks like it's racist? You know what I mean? So like, I think that Jamel Hill was kind of piggybacking off of that sentiment. But I think that people like Jay Tree, who's in the comments, you know, you just can't go around calling everything racist in this climate. I think that there are certain jokes that you can say when you are in certain company that shouldn't make it outside of that company. I think that, you know, if it's us telling these jokes, it comes from a different place. It's like laughing with someone versus laughing at someone. You know what I mean? So I think that that's kind of where the miss is. But I think that social media in general kind of puts us in these spaces where you're talking to people who you may feel a little more friendly with than you actually are. I think that that's what Cardi B just kind of walked herself into with the whole $80,000 purse thing. If she would have put that as a text in her group chat, I think it would have been cool. I think if she would have went on Instagram and just posted a picture of the purse, it would have been cool. But when you put that on Twitter, these are not your friends. These are just people. And I think that that's what Jamel and Carrie Champion did as well. Like, you're not in your living room having a conversation with your homegirl. You're on Vice having a conversation with America. So you really have to monitor what you say a little bit better than that.
So you think that we should filter a little bit of these comments so I mean, I could appreciate that. I think, you know, the conversations that we have live are sometimes not always the conversations that we have in a closed room. And I think that's because sometimes you're almost working through your thought, or some people can see things that are misconstrued. And we're living in a very sensitive climate. We're living in a super cancel culture climate. And so, I'm not holding Jemele Hill accountable.
I'm not either.
Yeah, it's stupid. Like, move on. I think as it relates to, people kind of trash talking Nate and being like, if LeBron made a joke about Nate being knocked out, is that bad? And yes and no, right? I mean, I think it's better, to your point, he doesn't necessarily need to put it on social media. If he wants to joke Nate through a text message, that's your boy. Do it there. But we don't want to see King James tearing down somebody that we hold kind of vital to the community. But I'm sure Nate is good. He was joking himself. He was like, hey guys, I was asleep. I just woke up. What I missed. So I think he'll be fine. I hope that he does get back out there and shows us what he can do. Yeah. And that's kind of really all I have to say about that. Any final thoughts on that topic?
I just will say, if you put Nate in the backyard with Jake Paul, no rules, my money's on Nate tomorrow. Off top.
And they better be ready, because Nate's little brother Chicken might just. Did you see those memes?
So y'all better be careful what you're saying on the internet. Don't get ran up on.
Listen, we remember them Rainier Beach days, but we're not gonna get into that now, honey. We remember. Last but certainly not least, Miss Rashida Jones, the newly elected president of MSNBC, succeeding Phil Griffin, who was in the position for 30 years, who was actually like highly favored. And so Rashida Jones is going to be the first Black woman to become the president of a major TV network. That's amazing. And that's certainly Black girl magic. I'm all about that, Mike. I'm all about that. No, and she went to a HBCU, so shout out to all my homies who went to Hampton. She did go to Hampton. She is went to the school for journalism. Shout out, man. HBCUs are winning. They are really winning out here. I know I told you guys that in our group chat. HBCU graduates, we are out here living large and taking charge. So I'm gonna keep coming for that teacher who told me not to go to a HBCU. But guess what? Rashida Hampton went to the other HU, okay? And she is the first Black woman to become president of a major TV network, MSNBC. Hello.
That's big. That's big. And it's crazy. When I first seen the news, I thought it was the other Rashida Jones. And I'm happy to see that it was not. It was actually somebody a hell of a lot more qualified to do this job. I looked over her career. Like, she definitely earned this position. It's crazy that Blacks in 2020, like, we're still being the first to do this, first to do that. But I'm proud of her. And hopefully this can lead to even more representation in the news. But more importantly, hopefully it changes the way that some of the coverage happens towards Black folks, just having her be in that position. But congratulations to her. It's a win for all of us. It's a win for my daughter. And I'm happy about that.
Yeah, I mean, and she's super young. I mean, a little bit of background on Miss Jones. She's 39 years old. She currently oversees the daytime news coverage for the network over at MSNBC, and also breaking news coverage for NBC. She's been in the business for years. Yes. This is going to make her the first Black female executive to run, again, the major news cable network. This past April, she was handed oversight of MSNBC's daytime coverage, and within 3 months, she had added weekend news program to her portfolio. So she's highly favored, and she comes with it. I think it's going to be an interesting transition of power to have a Black woman leader. And one thing I can say about Black women is that we come with a lot of experience and a lot of wisdom, and the experience is unmatched to anybody else, right? Because we come from the Black woman. We are intubated with these things that we just have at our core. And so I am, honey,
for real.
I'm excited. I had my Black Girl Magic t-shirt on earlier. I posted it on my Instagram. So we will stay tuned. I hope she shows up on Instagram. the other Rashida Jones, the actress, she posted such a funny picture on Instagram. She has like 1.5 million followers, and she posted Rashida Jones, the president, and herself on her shoulder, and then Rashida Jones in the back. So it's really cute. So she gave her kudos as well. So it's a lot of Black girl magic. We love each other, you know. And I feel like because she went to HU and I went to Norfolk State, like we're like close. So yeah. But anyway, that any final thoughts, Mike? We're gonna go ahead and wrap our show up. Any final thoughts on anything that we talked about tonight? What do you want to leave the people with?
I want to leave the people with this. New Year's Eve is coming. Stay in the house. This is not the year for the party. We're looking at a spike right now that may or may not have come from Thanksgiving. But please, we're just trying to make it through. Some of us want to be able to leave again. So please, no New Year's Eve parties this year.
Okay. Well, maybe virtual New Year's Eve parties, right?
Yeah. Why not?
Well, I would like to leave everybody with a few lasting comments. We are rolling into the holiday season, and there are a lot of people that do not have. So if you just look into what you have, and there's just a little bit more that you can give to somebody else, whether that be shopping for a family to give them toys, putting together a food basket to give to, you know, a single mom or a single dad that needs just a little bit more to put food on their table, whatever you can do to kind of make someone's holiday season a little bit more special. You know, if there's a senior in your neighborhood that may not have anybody to show up to their house, go put something on their doorstep to make them feel like they're loved and encouraged. I think right now, because we don't have a lot of physical touch and a lot of physical interaction, people are lacking. We don't know what type of mental health issues that's going to bring throughout. And so let's spread a little bit of the holiday cheer, spread some love, do what you can do. And let's have a good Christmas and New Year's. But I want to thank everybody for watching. Mike Davis, where can they find you at? What's your social media channel?
You can find me on Twitter at Real M Davis. That is my only social media. I don't even check it that much, but that's where you can find me. You can also find my writing at South Seattle Emerald.
Perfect. Well, I'm Jules Jessie. You can find me on Instagram at treasure of JULES. So please go follow me. It's same handle for Twitter. And I'm also on Facebook as Jules Jessie. But again, at treasure.
Wait, real fast. Shout out the show. Does the show got the IG now?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, we do. Okay. Please follow. You know what, Mike? We're going to have you on that show. All right. Please follow. So we just put together the clapback culture. Again, we started this show kind of just doing political commentary to talk about the post-election and analysis about that. But now it's going to be a weekly show every Thursday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I know I got a lot of homies on the East Coast tuning in. So we will be here every Thursday at 7 p.m. and 10 p.m. Y'all know the time zones, but follow us on Instagram at Clapback Culture, spelled correctly. We don't have a lot populated on that site yet, but we're going to put some content up. We're going to put a lot of show clips, and we want to hear from you. We want to follow y'all. We want to have more conversations, and we want you to DM us with stories that you want to talk about so that we can talk about them live on air. Okay. So those are the social media channels. Please go follow Converge Media. You guys are already on the YouTube channel. Click the bell, subscribe down below. I always wanted to be a little YouTube star, so I guess now we are. So definitely make sure you follow Converge Media. The morning update show comes on every day at 11 a.m. with our boy Amari Salisbury and Trey Holiday, who you know what? We had a show without Amari.
I think did the whole show. We did.
We'll be okay. We'll be okay. So we'll be here again next week. Come through, pull up, grab a snack, and thanks for watching. And we'll see you next week.